It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Thursday's Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast. On this, the 16th day of May, 2024, coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia. It's going to be a nice warm day eventually today. It's going to get up to 80, but it was like 52 this morning, which is why I got the sweatshirt on. But it'll be coming off shortly. Several things we want to discuss this morning, but let me run over the headlines, which I'll get to eventually because I got a bunch of other things to do first. But the lead story today is a disabled man unable to board due to a wheelchair form. I got some thoughts on that one. Royal Caribbean adds 10,000 employees. Gambling debt caused the man to jump. What? Vision resumes cruises from Baltimore. Godmother named for Margaritaville at Sea Islander. Also today, Asia line to expand to the Mideast. And Carnival Liberty repositions to New Orleans. That and lots more here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today, folks, is National Barbecue Day. I can deal with that. As a matter of fact, I don't know if Amanda's got any plans for dinner tonight or not, but I wouldn't mind sending out and bringing some barbecue in tonight. Okay, so before we get to onto the what I'm supposed to be doing today, it seems that my butt. I'm surprised it wasn't a trending topic on Facebook, as my butt seems to have been talked about around the world in the last 20 hours or so. And yes, I do know that a couple of you are discussing my butt in the chat room. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Some of you may have seen this yesterday. If you saw it, just ignore it. I had to wait for like an hour. I was getting kind of tired of waiting, and I kept hearing damn harp music, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I'm dying!" And this lady's sitting there. This isn't an oncology center now, and this lady's sitting there playing the harp. I says, "Man, yeah, your audience ain't the best in the world for harp music." But anyway, I said, "Well, that's one good way of getting out of that stupid shot." It is kicking the bucket. So unfortunately, I didn't kick the bucket. I did, however, finally get called back into the torture chamber and go through. I mean, they have to take my blood pressure and they have to take my oxygen and they got to take my temperature and all this stuff. And so then the nurse gets down to business and she says, "Well, I got to go. I got to enter all this stuff and I got to go get your injection." And she says, because it is a intermuscular something, 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 we have to shoot you in the butt. And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm aware of that. I've had it in the butt before, a couple times. And while I call it a 6-inch needle, it's actually about, I don't know how long that is. A big, big, big damn needle. And no doubt about it." So she goes and she enters my vitals and stuff. So I'm sitting there some more. And then she comes back with the injection and the needle and stuff. And then she's got to take this stuff and she's got to roll it to warm it up and get it room temperature or whatever they got to do. So she says, "Don't worry, I got to sit here. Just sit there for a couple minutes." She says, "Which side do you want it in?" And I said, "Well, you're on that side, so I'll put it on the left side so I don't have to turn around, for God's sakes. When you get it ready, I'll stand up and drop them and jab me." She said, "Okay." So she got it ready and said, "Okay, I'm ready." So I stood up. Well, it takes me a couple minutes to stand up, folks. I can't just bop up. So I got up, I dropped my drawers, and she jabbed me. Now, I mean, and it's just, it takes about, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds for this stuff to go in, and I got this long damn needle stuck in my buttocks. I feel like Forrest Gump talking about my buttocks. But anyway, apparently, when she says that she's ready and get up and I drop the drawers, I must have tensed up or something, because when she hit me with the needle, I had to flinch or something because I threw my back out. So, I mean, I'm obviously, she takes the needle out and I pull my pants up and it sat back down in the chair. I mean, it's right there. I just stood up in front of the chair and sat back down. All right. And then you have to sit there for a while to make sure I'm not going to fall on my head or anything. So I got that done and I could leave. By the time I got to the car and loaded up the chair, and that takes me, 3 or 4 minutes. I'm pretty quick at it, but that's time that I'm standing up. Now I do have my oxygen going, of course, and I get the lift back up so where it's supposed to be to travel, and I grab the pad off the seat so it doesn't fly away. I take the keys out so they don't drop out, and I get in the car. My back is cramping, lower back is cramping so bad I could barely get my feet back in the car. So I drove home, did the reverse of that. I had to get the chair back and to get in the house because I can't walk that far. So I made it from my parking spot in the garage into the living room and had to sit down. And by then it's late in the afternoon, so I asked my brother-in-law if he would mind feeding the cats, so I could just go get in my chair and not have to get up and down, but when I go to dinner or to the bathroom. So that's what we did. But yeah, I was in pain. I was in I took some drugs, folks. I took some heavy duty drugs last night. I haven't taken any today. I feel better today, but I'm not comfortable sitting. And of course, I've been sitting since 5 o'clock this morning. And I've got an interview this afternoon, so I'll be sitting some more. So I'm liable to end up just as bad again today with the back. The butt, yeah, it's tender. It's going to be tender for another day, probably. I mean, I can definitely feel where they got me. But I mean, the alternative to that is that I do kick the bucket. I mean, that's one of the things that's keeping me alive. So I can't object too much. And if I can have some fun with it and somebody got a chuckle out of it, then that's worth it. That's the way I always look at things. Okay, so a couple other things to go over. I got a couple more pictures from our buddy Steve. Of course, he's on the Koenigsdam up there in Alaska. Let's see, he's out in the glacier areas. And some nice pictures from him. Of course, that all that area looks familiar to me because I've been up there so many times. And then Bubba and Lynn are on the New Amsterdam. They do get bundled up nicely up there. And they were doing some glacier sailings yesterday. And when they were in Skagway, folks, they went to Station Bar and Grill in Skagway. Oh, man, those look good. I went to Tracy's last year and looked at the prices, and I said, man, I can't afford to eat those things. So I didn't have them. I'm taking the little extra money this year so I can get the crab legs while I'm up there. I didn't do that, and I got to do that again. So, all right. So let's get serious now, folks, and get on with the program here this morning. 69-year-old cancer survivor said he felt hopeless after his family said goodbye as they boarded the cruise ship and he stayed behind. It all came down to a form for a wheelchair. Mike Ashton was about to go on a cruise out of Southampton when he was told he would have to leave his much-needed wheelchair behind. Ashton, along with his wife, daughter, and mother-in-law, had planned the sailing on P&O Cruises Ventura. The family was about to board the vessel when Ashton was told he had not filled out the proper form for wheelchair use on the ship and would not be able to bring it with him. Ashton had booked his entire trip over the phone and told the port agent that he had never received the required form. Ashton was told that the email had been sent to him. P&O said they sent emails twice, but I've checked it online 30 times and have no email, Ashton claimed. Ashton had booked a wheelchair accessible room, and he had done the same on prior cruises without any issues. But he stated the P&O claimed that they didn't know he would be bringing a wheelchair. It should be noted that even when booking a wheelchair accessible room, a person on board has to be allocated for that chair, and the cruise line must be made aware. The family had to make a very difficult decision after spending thousands of dollars on a cruise. Ultimately, Ashton was left at the port in tears as he said goodbye to his family before they boarded the ship. P&O made me feel more disabled, and I felt totally discriminated against. I felt hopeless and very lonely, the cancer survivor stated, adding that he would have been stranded if he couldn't drive. A P&O spokesman said, "We're very sorry this happened to Mr. Ashton, and he was not able to board. The onboard needs questionnaire is on My P&O Cruises, their online portal, to be completed. It is not sent out by email. It is also very clear on the front page of My P&O Cruises that this is to be completed if needed. If Mr. Ashton was booked in an accessible cabin, he or his agent will have been sent emails prompting him to log in to My P&O Cruises to complete the questionnaire." According to the P&O Cruise website, all wheelchairs and mobility scooter must be declared at the time of booking or as soon as the need for one of them is known. The closed dimensions of the wheelchair must also be disclosed to the cruise line. According to Ashton, P&O said, just because we booked an accessible cabin doesn't mean we have a wheelchair. They have to allocate a person for the chair whether there is an emergency or not. They were willing to let me on board, but without the wheelchair. P&O states on their website this message for disabled guests. Please note, if you do not advise us in advance of your holiday that you will be bringing a mobility scooter, you won't be able to bring your mobility scooter on board. There are no storage facilities available for devices that are denied boarding, so this could result in you being denied boarding. All right, I have a couple problems with this story. The first is with Mr. Ashton. If he's done this before, he should know that you got to fill out a form for the wheelchair or a scooter or any mobility device. I have to fill out one for my oxygen too. That's the first thing I do after I book a cruise. And if most of my cruise lines email them to me. But then when I start, if I have failed to do it, which has happened on occasion, but when I start going into the online portal, it tells you we need the form. Well, then you send them the form. Now, that being said, I mean, so yes, it's his responsibility to do that. Or if he went through, he said he booked it himself. So a good travel agent, if you're going through a travel agent, would make sure you do that. But yeah, I mean, you have to do it with airlines too. You got to let them know you're coming with a chair. So, yeah, so I have fault with him to showing up without having done any of that. Now, where I have fault with P&O is, okay, you're saying that somebody on board has to be assigned to that chair. Okay, that's great. And I know that's for emergency purposes. But still, he booked a wheelchair accessible room, which means he's got the doorway so the chair can come in the room. It's not going to be parked in the hall. That's why he booked a wheelchair accessible room. So that's the main function of that form, is to get the dimensions of the chair. So what's wrong with them having a blank form there at the desk when you check in? You fill the thing in, sign it, and they put it in the computer on the spot, rather than making a disabled individual skip the cruise because he can't go on the cruise without his chair. So I got fault on both sides on this one, folks. I think P&O needs to be a little more aggressive in how they handle disabled folks. And I think the disabled gentleman needs to do what it says clearly that you have to do to get on a cruise ship. So that's just my thought, folks. All right, I'll be back with several more news stories after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. Royal Caribbean announced it is recruiting 10,000 employees globally. The company is already working with key governmental agencies and institutions to help meet its huge manpower requirement this year. The Miami-based company already had 98,300 employees as of 2023. Around 90% work on ships, while 9% support shoreside operations. New recruits will be assigned to Royal Caribbean ships and private destinations. The family of a man who passed away after going overboard during an Australian cruise last week has a hit out on the cruise line's gambling policy. Shane Dixon, 50, went overboard just 10 nautical miles from docking in Sydney on the Elvis-themed sailing toward P&O Cruise Australia ship Pacific Adventure. Dixon was on the cruise with his mother, and his family says the cruise line bears some responsibility. Brother Scott Dixon, who wasn't on the cruise, said his brother had racked up a sizable debt in the onboard casino. He had originally lost 5,000 Australian dollars and then borrowed money from his mother to pay off his debt. Dixon then lost another $4,000 the following night. I'm sorry, folks, but you can't blame the casino or the cruise line for this. If you're going to gamble in the casino, you need to set yourself a budget. Set how much money you can afford to lose, and don't lose any more than that. It's pretty simple. How would you like to explore Ponta Delgada, Portugal with me for the first time? I've not been there before, but I'm going in January. So why not join me on a cruise with Chillie, Miami to Southampton transatlantic for 13 nights on the beautiful Norwegian Bliss. Sails January 4th from Miami to Southampton in England on the 17th. That's 13 night, folks. Prices start at $799. That's double occupancy, but you can't beat that. Of course, you got to add the taxes and port charges and anything else you want to it. but starting from $7.99. That's Cruise with Chillie, Miami to Southampton on January 4th. Port of Baltimore announced that Royal Caribbean cruises from the port will resume. Vision of the Seas will set sail on May 25th for a 5-night cruise to Bermuda. The ship will be the first cruise ship to sail from Baltimore since the same vessel sailed on a 12-day cruise on March 21st. The port has been closed for cruise ships since the container ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Margaritaville at Sea has named a very special godmother for the cruise line's second vessel, Margarita at Sea Islander. The honor goes to Savannah Buffett, eldest daughter of the late singer, songwriter, and sailor Jimmy Buffett, who passed away on September 1st, 2023. The choice is a spectacular one, as Savannah carries on her own legacy of maritime culture, as well as diverse cultural talents, including acting, literature, and photography. She co-authored 2 children's books with her father, has hosted radio shows, and was a backup singer in the 1998 musical video Jamaica Farewell. Resorts World Cruises, which launched in 2022 to cater to the Asian market, is expanding its global presence. Resorts World One, which was acquired by the new cruise line at the beginning of 2023, will be homeporting in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, for 6 months beginning in October of 2024. By embarking on a 6-month deployment in Dubai, the new company intends to expand its reach in the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Resorts World One and Genting Dream, which was the first ship to join the new fleet about 2 years ago, already have a strong presence in Asia. The young cruise line already sails to destinations throughout China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam. Carnival Liberty recently arrived at its new home port in New Orleans. Repositioning from Port Canaveral, the cruise ship is now offering a series of 7-night cruises departing Louisiana. Departing from New Orleans every Sunday, the Liberty is visiting ports in both Eastern and Western Caribbean, as well as the Bahamas. Hey, solo travelers, we've got some openings on our upcoming Alaska cruise from Vancouver to Anchorage, sailing on the Grand Princess on August the 14th. Solo cabins start at $941.87, and that includes taxes and port charges. So you could actually get a solo cabin on an Alaska cruise for less than $1,000. You can add on the Princess Plus for $60 a day, so you'd be at $1,320 with everything. Just give me a call, 434-258-9264, and we'll go to Alaska. And that ends the news portion of today's show. So let's go see who's fussing at me in the chat room. Okay, so we've got Hot Air Tom. There's Mike. Hope your butt's less sore today. Thanks, Mike. Gary Older Than Dirt is with us. Buena Diaz, Chillie Butt, and the gang. Drat, you beat me to it, Mike. I was getting ready with a butt comment. Yeah, I got you, Elizabeth. And go ahead. Mine is hardly original. There's Joanne. Hi, Joanne. Nicole Sky says, help me, please. I need your help. I don't think you realize that you're in a travel show, folks. Kenneth's with us up in Pennsylvania. Hey, Kenneth. No ifs, ands, or buts. Uh-huh. Cindy's with us. Hi, Cindy. When I was working at the hospital, a harpist would go around the hospital with a mini harp. Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice. It's lovely music, but I just, I picture the harpist sitting up there at the pearly gates with the big fella. That- You know, just my perverted brain. Amy's with us. Hi, Amy. Emma's here. Hey, Emma, good to see you. Hey, you chilly, everyone. What kind of conversation did I just walk into? Yeah, well, it's just my butt conversation. That's what it was. Any newcomers to this channel are really going to wonder what this beginning conversation is about. We love you, Chillie. And yes, nothing but love for him. Thank you, Emma. Appreciate it. Joanne says, Elizabeth, especially if they sign in and hear Chillie saying, I have had in the butt a couple of times. Yeah, well, one of my gay friends, Joanne, said, well, personally, I never objected to 6 inches, but I won't go there either. Uh, Elizabeth, I would imagine that would be a different channel. Yeah, what I would hope so. Chillie's the butt of our jokes today. Okay, guys. I can take it. My butt can take it. Survived trip to South Florida supplier up to Palm Beach, but it was a Palm Beach extra 170-mile trip. Situation normal. Okay. Glad to see you made it back to Jacksonville safe and sound, Roger. Elizabeth, hey, what does it cost to live in Cozumel for a year offhand? I wonder if she might have those kind of figures. Emily's with us. Good morning, Emily. She says hello to everyone. Amy says, I think anyone with special needs or a disability is better off booking through a travel agent rather than doing it themselves. I feel so badly for this gentleman who was denied boarding. Yeah, I do too. I mean, I feel bad for him, but he should have known better, you know. And I wonder how much that happens. And I don't know if other cruise lines, if they're that strict on it, because I've always done it, so I never have a problem with it. Carolina, how are you doing today? Very nice. Glad you're with us. Bob's here. Says good morning. I'll have a great day. Emma says this happened to us back on the Jubilee. No form was sent to us. We booked 1 year before the inaugural came out. They did end up calling us, and luckily, we had enough time to get a walker. All right, that helps out. But I couldn't. I mean, if I'd be taken out of my chair, I couldn't do a walker. I mean, I can take about 6 steps, 8 steps tops, even with a walker. So I'd be sitting down every 15 seconds. So, I mean, I've got to have the chair, or I can't go at all. So, and I'm going to go. Kenneth says only 319 days till my next cruise. It seems like forever. Emily says, speaking of which, how was your shot in the butt? Were you sore? You missed the first part of the show, Emily. Yeah, I did about 15 minutes on my butt to start the show off. And yes, it was very sore. It's still sore. So, how hard would it be for the cruise line just to print out the paper for the guy and make everybody happy? Always make your customer happy. Well, that's what I think too. Especially because the information. I mean, it's not a situation where they got a regular cabin that a wheelchair is not going to fit into. I mean, unless it's an oversized chair, but mine fits into every wheelchair cabin. So, yeah, he's got the wheelchair cabin. It could have been done easily and not cause that problem. That would have been the right thing to do for P&O. Not keep the guy from going on the cruise. That's my feelings, but that's me. Obviously, they feel differently. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Oh, I know one thing I did not mention. So let me mention it now and get it over with. I'm going to have a special guest tomorrow. CEO Elijah Everett of Friendly Like Me. It's the name of the organization. They provide detailed, up-to-date information on accessible businesses and public spaces. They are primarily a land-based operation, so they deal with things like hotels and restaurants and national parks, accessibility in office buildings, things like that. They're not cruise-based like I am. I'm cruise-based. Now, I still want to do some land traveling. I want to do some of the same things that they are providing information for. Could there possibly be a collaboration? That might be interesting. But anyways, I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually doing the interview this afternoon at 4:00. So it'll be in the can for tomorrow, and it'll be the first part of the show tomorrow. So I'll be on same time, same place tomorrow as usual. But we'll have, I think it's going to be an interesting special guest. All right, so that's going to wrap me up for today. Please, guys, smash that thumbs up button. I would greatly appreciate that. And also, if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so, as that helps the channel out. And one of these days, I'm going to hit 10,000. And I'd like to do it by the second Tuesday of next week. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so and hit that bell notification so you'll know when I go live or when a new video is posted. And there's a lot of that goes on. So that's going to wrap me up for today, guys. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Especially some of you might want to go with me and Gretchen. And who else is going? Gary, going to Alaska. Yeah, come join us. We got some openings. All right, guys. See everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you'd like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.